Hi,
Hi.
welcome back. Today's video is about something that's been on my mind for quite some time, but I hadn't really organized it into a video idea until right now. Now, as a Honkai Star Rail content creator, I can probably speak for 99.9% of other Star Rail CCs and say that most of the time this game is pretty damn boring. It's a Hoyo gacha game, and 99 logins out of 100, you have nothing to do except spend your fuel and log out. We mostly just enjoy the game because we enjoy creating content about it, honestly. However, something I do truly enjoy, and I'm sure other creators enjoy as well, is playing the endgame content. However, as I said, most of the time you've got nothing to do. I have a few things I would change about Star Rail's endgame content to make it more fun for basically everyone, so in this video let's talk about Star Rail's endgame content and how it can get even better than it already is. Before we start, I want to thank you for helping me reach my final goal of 3,000 subs before the end of the year. My original goal was 2,000, then we went up to 2,500, then all the way up to 3,000. It's been really great, so thank you so much. I would say let's reach 3,500 before the end of the year, but there's only like 9 days left, and I doubt I'd get 509 days. Unless. Anyway, you should like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this in the future. You should also join the Express Train Discord server for a fun community where you can find people to chat with about Star Rail and just about anything. Also, we have a dedicated content creator chat in the Express Train where you can discuss analytics and video ideas, so if you're a creator who wants to find other people in the same boat as you, the Express Train has you covered. Now let's stop yapping and let's get onto it. So first thing I want to talk about, which is definitely the biggest thing when it comes to Star Rail's endgame, and that's the frequency. Right now, it's obviously 3 game modes that rotate one by one every 2 weeks, with each cycle of each mode being live for 6 weeks total. Now at the surface, this is a pretty standard endgame cycle, but for a game with barely anything to do, the only replayable gameplay being the sim uni and the endgame content, then it's really not frequent enough. I know the basis of a Hoyo game is to log in for like 10 minutes a day, or 30 if you're playing Genshin, and only really play whenever there's a new story quest or new event. However, I'm a content creator for this game and I truly enjoy the endgame. This is basically the only game I ever play aside from occasionally playing Minecraft, because my potato-ass laptop can barely handle anything. The endgame is actually fun. That's the biggest reason why I enjoy this game, only being able to really try it once every 2 weeks, then only being able to try other teams I haven't tried without getting anything out of it kinda sucks. Especially when Pure Fiction is rotating in because I don't really care for it, because it's way too easy. It's more of a guaranteed 800 gems rather than something that could actually be a challenge, like the MSC in Apocalyptic Shadow, because I barely pull for any meta units and I'm still clearing with DOT. So what I suggest is a very simple change, and does work for the devs' favor a bit if they are worried about that. Instead of rotating each game mode in every 2 weeks, just have every mode rotate twice every patch, and have them cycle one after the other every week rather on a bi-weekly basis. And if they're worried about giving out too many gems because that would double the amount of rewards we get, then they could just have the amount of jades we get from the clearance rewards. During the first banner phase, which is 3 weeks unless the patch is shorter, the patch starts off with an MOC cycle for the first week, then an Apocalyptic Shadow for the week after, then a Pure Fiction for the week after that one. Then the same rotation follows during the second banner phase. What really works in their favor here is since each new banner unit is up for 3 weeks, for example, they could keep the same MOC enemies during both the first and second rotations, but to not make it repetitive, they could change the buff provided by the current phase to match the on-banner character. Sure, that does give more incentive to pull the character currently on the banner, but honestly that's just marketing 101. So this solution would make endgame modes rotate twice as quickly, and provide a different challenge based on the buff each rotation to not make it repetitive and boring and just kinda lazy on their part, which laziness and Hoyoverse are like synonyms, but I digress. It wouldn't give out more rewards, it would just give out the same amount of rewards in exchange for more fun, if they're really worried about that. But honestly, it would obviously be nice and would definitely be preferred if they still gave 800 gems every rotation. It would just be more fun for those that want to play the game more, and weekends do exist, so for busy people they still have time to put an extra 30 minutes into the game to clear the endgame cycle on a Friday or something. There is a teeny tiny problem, and that is because the buff is different every rotation, someone could only be able to clear with one buff and not clear with the other, but honestly by that point just pull a new unit to help you out if you're so worried about that. It would just be like 40 jade you're missing out on, and that's not that much. Oh, and by the way, just as a small disclaimer or PSA, I wasn't actually the person who came up with this idea. It was a few months ago when I was watching another CC friend of mine, Maddie Chu, which I'm sure you've heard of already, and she's actually the one who came up with that idea on stream, so credit goes to her for this one. So we talked about the frequency of rotation. It's definitely the biggest flaw in my opinion, but I would say most people probably don't care that much and are fine with it. However, the next problem a lot of people definitely do care about, and that's HP inflation, and I of course have a solution for that. So I'm sure some people have already talked about MOC 13 and 14 before. Back before like 1.4, 1.5, whichever one it was, we only had MOC levels up to MOC 10. But then obviously we got stages 11 and 12. It's not weird to think they would eventually add stages 13 and 14. I'm sure most people wouldn't mind, and in 3.0, or maybe it was in this patch in 2.7, again I don't exactly remember, they're actually extending the auto clear function from MOC 7 up to MOC 9. Of course that's a massive time saver, but it also opens the discussion for MOC 13 and 14 even more than before. If they're giving us a chance to auto clear and save more time than before, then it's not unlikely they would take that time back away from us with an MOC 13 and 14. Of course they would be harder, and I'm sure Zero Cyclers would love the extra challenge, but what I'm proposing is this. I'd say keep the current level of HP inflation and the way it's going right now, but move it all the way up to MOC 13 and 14. So what MOC 10 is right now to MOC 12 would be what MOC 12 is to the future MOC 14. Instead of being the final level like it used to be back then, it's just 2 levels before. However, instead of giving MOC 13 and 14 actual rewards, I say keep the rewards exactly where they're at, but make MOC 13 and 14 feel more optional, only giving out rewards like relic remains or lots of XP materials and credits. This way, they reduce the HP inflation in the current MOC 12, so players won't feel forced to pull new units anymore, but for those that like the extra challenge, they would still pull the new characters like they are now, and they would have the extra challenge of 13 and 14. The reason it's better if they give 13 and 14 less important rewards like relic remains is to not make it seem like players who can't clear it absolutely have to clear it, because even if it is an optional mode, in the end most players do actually do it and find it fun. But of course, that fun is being ruined by HP inflation, so, as I said, the solution is to keep the same curve of HP inflation, because it wouldn't matter if it was put behind an even less optional level that only gave rewards lesser than Jade's. It would just challenge those who pull for meta units, and players who are more casual, only pull for their favorite units, or only play once in a while don't feel completely overwhelmed by the amount of HP the later stages have. Pure Fiction and Apocalyptic Shadow would also follow the same rule, but it would of course be stage 5 for these two being the more optional level with higher amounts of HP. And of course, the final thing I want to talk about is more endgame modes in the future. I'm sure most people are definitely satisfied with the endgame selection in Star Rail, but eventually, like it or not, it's going to get pretty repetitive if things stay like this after a couple of years. I mean, just look at Genshin, the gacha game with the stalest ass endgame system ever. The Spiral Abyss may as well be compared to a goddamn gas station toilet because of how shitty it is. Anyway, I would love to see more endgame modes in the future. There were some rumors a while ago about new endgame mode that would have a faction buff system and was also compared to chess. Definitely sounds pretty fun. Having multiple characters from a faction in one team giving your whole team buffs. What I have in mind if these rumors are true is, for example, since Ruan Mei and Fugue are affiliated in the story, having these two in one team would, for example, increase break damage dealt by units since they're both mostly break focused units. Or having Black Swan and Mr. Eureka, who's possibly coming in the future and is also a Mebo Keeper like Black Swan in a team, would give you the ability to freeze enemies or apply dissociation on them, since the Garden of Recollection and Mebo Keepers are all about the Remembrance path, which is of course about freezing and dissociation in the same uni. It's definitely a very fun sounding game mode, and if the rumors are true, then I think it would be one of the best in the game, because using your favorite characters together now can be very synergistic and very fun. And that's it. Let me know what you think down below. Let me know what else you would change about Star Rail's endgame. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this in the future. And join the Express Rain Discord server, where you can chat with many cool people about Star Rail and just about everything else. Thank you again for watching and for the insane support. I will see you next time.